everybody out in YouTube land, my name is Mike and I love guitars. In my last video, I showed off a guitar that I recently picked up for a friend of mine, a 2008 Gibson SG Classic. Well, today we're going to do a shootout with my 2004 Gibson SG Faded and see how they compare. Let's do this. I really wanted to finish and post this video a couple weeks ago, but I ended up with a nasty ear infection, and even though I could hear well enough to record the guitar parts for the demo, I couldn't hear well enough to actually mix anything I recorded until now. With all that said, I'm finally feeling better, and it's time to finish up this video. As I said in my new Guitar Day video, this is a guitar that a really good friend of mine from my hometown found on the Facebook Marketplace for a really good price, but here in Austin where I live. He asked me to pick it up for him, and I did. It's a 2008 SG Classic, and even though it's obvious that it's been well played for a long time, it's also been obviously very well taken care of. There really are just a few surface pick scratches for the most part, and my buddy should be able to buff those out without too much trouble. This SG Classic came with Soap Bar P90 pickups, a gloss nitro finish, binding on the neck, vintage Clouson style tuners, and an inlaid Gibson logo on the headstock. On the other hand, my 2004 SG Faded came with uncovered 490T and 490R pickups, no binding on the neck, a faded matte finish, Gibson Deluxe tuners, and a silkscreen Gibson logo on the headstock. The SG Faded was certainly the more budget-friendly guitar as opposed to the Classic when it was new, but I was really curious to see how the two compared to each other side by side. Since this was the first time I've ever had two SGs in my studio at the same time, it was the perfect time to find out. From a purely aesthetic standpoint, I think the Classic is the clear winner. The gloss finish, neck binding, and inlaid logo just look great. I'm not a huge fan of the vintage style tuners, but they're also not a deal breaker for me. Plus, the body has some wild figuring if you get it in the right light. Having said all that, the faded definitely doesn't look bad. It doesn't have the wild figuring of the classic, and the gloss finish is definitely prettier than the matte finish. But while the gloss finishes look great, the faded matte finishes just feel great. From a sonic sound point, I think the guitars really sounded more similar than I was expecting. I think the humbucker of the SG Faded is definitely a little thicker and crunchier, but not by as much as I was expecting. The P90 actually kind of surprised me with how thick it sounded, considering it's really just a large single coil. Just for fun, I even decided to throw in my Les Paul Special for additional comparison. Now, with the amp settings I'm using, there's really no noticeable difference at all between the SG Classic and the Les Paul Special, but it's really not surprising considering they both use P90 pickups. So, what do I think about this SG Classic? Well, I really like it, but would I keep it for myself if I could? Honestly, probably not. I already have an SG and I already have a Les Paul Special, and I'm just not a big enough SG fan to keep another one when I already get the same sound from another guitar. If I came across something really cool like an SG Supreme or maybe an Angus Young Signature, I might change my mind, but for now I'm just happy keeping the one SG in my collection. And that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed checking out these two guitars as much as I did. And I have something really cool to show you guys in the next video, so be sure to check back soon. Blueberry Burst, Silver Burst. I can't decide, man. Oh, hey! Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. And remember, keep playing your guitars.